What would you do if a stranger demanded your home, your sanctuary, and called the law to tear you from entitlement to discover you held the power to unravel their entire world? In the heart of Oregon's Klamath County, where the pines whispered secrets older than time, my cabin stood as a refuge. Tucked among wild caron flowers, those delicate white blooms that clung fiercely to rocky slopes, it was a place I'd built with my own hands, board by board, nail by nail. After my wife, Lila, passed 3 years ago, I left Portland's clamor for this solitude. The cabin wasn't just wood and stone. It was my anchor, my proof I could still create something whole. But Karen Whitaker had other plans. Karen arrived on a crisp October morning, her SUV gleaming like it had never tasted dirt. She was all sharp edges, bleached hair, manicured nails, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She claimed the land was hers, waving some crumpled deed she'd bought online for a steal. "This is my property now," she said, her voice slicing through the quiet. "You're squatting. Pack up or I'll make you." I tried reasoning, showed her my own deed, notarized and filed with the county in 2020. She laughed, a brittle sound, and said, "Forgeries don't scare me, old man." I wasn't old, barely 50, but grief had carved lines into my face that made her think she could bully me. She didn't know I'd spent decades as a land surveyor, mapping every inch of this county, or that I'd inherited more than just this cabin from Lila's family. The next day, she called 911. I heard the sirens long before I saw the sheriff's cruiser winding up the dirt road. Sheriff Daniels, a man I'd known since he was a deputy, stepped out, looking weary. Karen was behind him, arms crossed, triumphant. "This man's trespassing," she declared, pointing at me like I was some vagrant. "Evict him." Daniels sighed, rubbing his temples. "Elliot, you got anything to say?" I invited them inside, where the air smelled of cedar and coffee. Karen hesitated, as if stepping into my cabin would taint her. I pulled out my deed, the original, and handed it to Daniels. He scanned it, nodded slowly. "Looks legit, Karen. County records back this up." Her face twisted. "He's lying. I bought this land fair and square." That's when I noticed her purse, a garish thing with a logo that screamed money. Something about it sparked a memory. Lila's cousin, Marcus, had warned me about scam artists buying up distressed properties online, often fake or misfiled. I kept my voice steady. "Where'd you get that deed, Ms. Whitaker?" "None of your business," she snapped, but her eyes flickered. Daniels radioed the station to double-check. While we waited, Karen paced, muttering about lawsuits and her rights. I poured coffee for Daniels, who gave me a look that said he'd seen this kind of drama before. Then the radio crackled. The dispatcher's voice was clear. Karen's deed was fraudulent, part of a scam traced to a shady website. Her face drained of color, but she doubled down. "This isn't over. I'll be back with my lawyer." That's when Amos showed up. Amos was a local, a wiry man with a limp and a reputation for knowing everyone's secrets. He'd been Lila's friend, a botanist who studied the caron flowers that gave this land its name. He wasn't supposed to be here. I hadn't seen him in months, but there he was, leaning against his truck, holding a manila envelope. "Elliot," he said, his voice low, "you might want to see this." Karen froze, sensing something shift. Amos handed me the envelope, his eyes never leaving her. Inside were documents, old ones, yellowed but official. They were title records, not just for my cabin's plot, but for half of Klamath County land Lila's family had owned since the 1800s, passed down through generations. When Lila died, it all came to me. I'd never flaunted it, never needed to. The cabin was enough. "Ms. Whitaker," I said, holding up the papers, "you didn't just pick a fight with me. You picked one with the owner of this entire county." Her jaw dropped, lips moving soundlessly. Daniels coughed, hiding a grin. Karen's confidence crumbled like dry leaves. "That's impossible," she stammered. "It's not." Amos cut in, his voice sharp. "Lila's family owned this land before Oregon was a state. Elliot's got the deeds, the surveys, everything. You're the one trespassing." The twist wasn't just the land. It was Amos. He'd been tracking Karen's scam for months, ever since she'd swindled a neighbor out of a parcel down the road. He'd dug into her past, found she wasn't just a one-time opportunist. She'd done this in 3 other states, preying on rural folks with fake deeds and big city bravado. Amos had been waiting for her to slip up, and I was her mistake. Karen's eyes darted between us, panic setting in. "This is a setup," she screamed. "You're all in on it." Daniels had heard enough. "Ma'am, you're coming with me. Fraud's a serious charge." He cuffed her, her protests echoing as he led her to the cruiser. She shouted about her lawyer, her rights, but the fight was gone from her. The Karen flowers swayed in the breeze, indifferent to her downfall. I thought that was the end. But life, like those flowers, has a way of clinging to the cracks. A week later, Amos called me to the county clerk's office. There, in a dusty archive, he showed me something else Lila had left behind, a letter, tucked into the deed records. It was her handwriting, elegant and sure, dated a month before her cancer took her. "Elliot," it read, "this land is more than dirt and trees. It's our story, our fight. If anyone tries to take it, show them who we are. You're stronger than you know." I broke down right there, in that fluorescent-lit room, Amos's hand on my shoulder. I'd thought the cabin was my refuge, but Lila had given me so much more: a legacy, a purpose. I'd been hiding in grief, but she trusted me to protect what was ours. Karen's trial came and went. She was convicted of fraud, sentenced to 5 years. The news barely registered. I was back at the cabin, planting Karen flowers along the path Lila used to walk. Amos helped, quiet as always, but his presence was a reminder. I wasn't alone. The land, the flowers, Lila's letter, they were my strength. But the story doesn't end sweetly. That winter, a developer approached, offering millions for the county land. They wanted resorts, strip malls, to pave over the Karen flowers and call it progress. I refused. They didn't take it well. Late one night, I woke to the smell of smoke. My cabin was ablaze, flames licking the sky. I barely escaped, clutching Lila's letter, the only thing I saved. The fire was ruled arson, but no one was caught. The developers denied involvement, their smiles as cold as Karen's. I stood in the ashes, the Karen flowers charred around me, and realized something bitter. Owning the county didn't mean I could protect it. Power wasn't enough when greed was stronger. Lila's legacy was in my hands, but so was its loss. I rebuilt board by board, nail by nail, on the same scorched earth. The Karen flowers grew back, stubborn as ever. But every night, I hear the crackle of flames in my dreams, and I wonder if I failed her. The land is mine, but at what cost? ND.